One day I'm coming out, I'm walking with Kevin and Leo, Cam and Dame walking in the building. Dame said, you a worker now?
Yo.
You a pumper.
Yo,
you know how these niggas, everybody in Roc-a-fella make jokes. You know how it's like, oh, this
Dame was crucial.
He pumping for Kevin Lyles. Cam always want to interject and shit like that. And I was on fire, bro. That really bent me in a different position. Like, you said some shit to me that you was already doing. You was Leo boy. That's why you had so much envy towards him, because you're not nobody boss in that situation.
That's right.
Leo was your boss.
That's right.
While you walked in that building with me, somebody else was your boss.
Everybody got a boss.
Roc-a-fella was a label. There was somebody else that was your boss. So you walked into a building where I became a big executive and tell me what I'm doing is wrong when you doing the same thing?
Yeah.
I learned a lot there. Was able to take that knowledge that I had there and moving on and end up with the record called Ballin'. So the joke ended up being on them.
He thought he was walking into a joke, but instead, he walked into the moment that changed everything. Jim Jones just broke down a story that hits way deeper than rap. This ain't about music. This is about power, ego, control. In the one moment when Dame Dash tried to play him right in front of the entire building. What Jim Jones said today finally explains why that disrespect hit so hard and why he had to check Dame Dash on sight. And when you hear the real reason behind it, you'll understand exactly why he snapped. This story goes way back when Jim Jones was running point at Def Jam, back when the Diplomats were trying to protect their image, back when Kim and Jim Jones weren't seeing eye to eye on how the brand should look. Jim Jones wasn't just hanging around waiting for instructions. He was building decks, making bullet points, and standing on tables in meetings. He was doing strategic marketing, and he was getting real executive money under the table as a consultant. We're talking about $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Quiet, no flexing, no bragging, just work. Now I'm about to play this clip for y'all, but before I do, I just need y'all to like, leave y'all thoughts down below in the comment section, and subscribe. Let's get into it.
Me and Cam wasn't agreeing on the things that they were doing at the time about Diplomats, and I was like, there's no way we could be seen like that. So I made a little bit of a deck, some bullet points of what we need and shit like that. I made copies for everybody and shit. I went down there. I think I stood on the table, gave everybody copies of the shit, Kevin Lyles and all that shit. They all went through it, and Kevin Lyles was amazed. They called me upstairs like, yo, I want to pay you, I think $10,000 or $15,000 a month to be a consultant. So I actually was a consultant while we was in Roc-a-fella that I didn't tell nobody about shit like that. I just was getting a consultant check for that. And then, remember, that whole shit stopped. Kevin and Leo left Def Jam, popped back up with the Warner Music Group shit. And then Kev called me for a meeting one day, and I started my music. This is when, now I'm Jim Jones, a rapper too. So Kev called me that I know he got all this money, they got the new label. I'm thinking I'm lit like, oh, I'm about to get a nice deal over here. I bet. So I go over there. He like, yo, bro, I know you're doing music, but that's not my concern. You way smarter than music. I know how to make you super duper rich. I'm like, all right, well, he like, I want you to be an executive here. He like, not just any executive. It's going to be Leo, myself, and then you. Everybody else in this, all of these buildings, Atlantic, everybody, Todd Moskowitz, Joey Ai, they all work for you in that capacity. This is a very, very important job, but I need you next to me because I seen what you could do. This is what Kevin telling me and shit like that. So that's how I ended up being the A&R director for Warner Music Group. Not for the group, not for Warner Rec, for everything. Was Atlantic under there, was all the labels, so that was my position.
See, I just heard it was Atlantic.
Both buildings, had an office in Leo building, had an office in the Atlantic building, had two labels in the building, aside from me having the A&R position. That, like, nigga, I was in there cooking. But there's another thing too that like, so me being who I am, very passionate and very smart, and I love business because I see things from a different. And one of the things that fucked me up in that position where I kind of left that was one day, and we just talking stories. One day I'm coming out, I'm walking with Kevin and Leo, Cam and Dame walking in the building. Dame said, "You a worker now?
Yo,
you a pumper."
Yo,
you know how these niggas, everybody in Roc-a-fella make jokes. You know how it's like, oh, this nigga's
Dame
a pumper.
was crucial.
He pumping for Kevin Lyles. Cam always want to interject and shit like that. And I was on fire, bro. That shit really bent me in a different position. Like I was like,
Nigga, I ain't doing this shit no more.
But no, it wasn't that. I was more mad at what they did. You heard? Because you undermine what I got going on. They didn't respect the position I had, but maybe they did, but they knew they could never be in that position of where I was going. So they did some shit to deter me from where I was actually heading.
Yo, you
understand what I'm saying?
You know, I always tell niggas that you gotta watch jokes. Cause some niggas will say some serious shit to you in a playful way.
100%.
Because they know you would take it to 100%. The left way if they said it serious to you. So they say it in a joking way. So you gotta really pay attention to jokes. Cause it'd be a lot of disrespect. And motherfucker be like, you know you laughing thinking they playing, but niggas is dead ass serious. And that could have been that.
You know
hate disguised as a joke, bro.
You said some shit to me that you was already doing, nigga. Mm-hmm. You was Leo boy. That's why you had so much envy towards him, because you not nobody boss in that situation.
That's right.
Leo was your boss.
That's right.
While you walked in that building with me, somebody else was your boss.
Everybody got a boss.
roc-a-fella was a label. There was somebody else that was your boss. Yo. So you walked into a building where I became a big executive and tell me what I'm doing is wrong? When nigga, you doing the same thing?
Yeah, that was
crazy.
And
I never told nobody about this like this in this world. I'm just telling you, that's how that shit struck me.
Yeah, of course. I would have felt the same way.
This nigga just...
Yeah, like tried to undermine my shit.
And me being so loyal...
You never said nothing.
You heard? Kept it at that.
Nothing.
But I learned a valuable lesson. And moving forward, I knew how to handle myself in those positions. You heard? And through that fucked it up, but it was cool. I learned a lot there. Was able to take that knowledge that I had there and moving on and end up with the record called Ballin'. So the joke ended up being on them.
That's right.
I stopped being an executive and had the #1 record in the country on you niggas.
And then you imagine you kept
niggas never had. You heard? Stop playing with me. You dig? You understand what I'm trying to say?
That's
like, leave me alone. So
this whole situation shows how success can flip the energy in a room before you even say a word. And that's the part I keep coming back to. When Jim Jones told this story, it wasn't just some old roc-a-fella drama. It was a real lesson about growth, elevation, and how people respond when somebody they never expected levels up in a way they didn't see coming at all. Because Jim Jones wasn't bragging about becoming an executive. He wasn't walking around trying to sun anybody. He was doing the work. He was in those meetings. He was building those decks. He was earning that consultant check. He was building value. And sometimes value makes people real uncomfortable even when they love you. That, oh, you a worker now line wasn't meant for Jim Jones. That was about insecurity. That was about how quick people are to mask real feelings behind a joke. It's a reminder that you have to be confident in your own purpose because everybody won't clap for you when your blessing shows up. Some people will laugh at you. Some people will downplay it. Some people will pretend it ain't real at all. But the numbers don't lie. The average major label A&R controls budgets that can reach into the tens of millions of dollars every year. So when Jim Jones stepped into that building as an executive, that put him in a completely different tier of influence. And here's what I respect. Jim Jones didn't let ego ruin the lesson. He didn't fire back. He didn't expose anybody. He didn't try to embarrass anybody. He sat with it, and it hurt him. It bothered him, but he learned from it. He figured out how to move better in those environments. And that's maturity. That's leadership. And that's understanding the business isn't personal, even when personal feelings get mixed in. And what makes this story even crazier is how it all came back around. Jim Jones walked away from that executive building and ended up dropping Ballin', a #1 record, a national anthem of energy. That's life showing you that your path is still your path, even when somebody tries to knock you off it. That's why I always say the universe has perfect timing. The joke ended up being on the people who didn't think he belonged in that seat because Jim Jones turned that moment of disrespect into momentum. So let me ask you all this. Do you think Jim Jones stepping into that executive position changed how people around him viewed him? Or did it expose how they felt the whole time? And do you think people joke like that because they're playful or because they're trying to hide how they really feel? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section and make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.